The Cardinals got swept over the weekend. Buyers, sellers, where are we tilting the pendulum right now?
Yeah, so it's obviously not how you wanted to start the second half. And John Mozeliak has said, even in early July, that he's prepared to go into the final week or 72 hours even before the trade deadline before he makes a decision on what the Cardinals will do. I will say, whether the Cardinals buy, sell, or hold, it won't be to any extreme degree. Right now, as they hover just 2 games over 500, they've had a really just bad July. They've won just 3 out of their 14 games. Two key players in Lars Nootbaar, Nolan Gorman on the injured list, and then their starting rotation has an ERA over 7 in July. So just all around not good baseball for the Cardinals lately. Comes at a time where they're going to have to make a decision about their direction, and they still aren't 100% sure where they're going to go. If the Cardinals do sell, however, Scott, I don't think it's going to be in a fire sale by any means. I think you're looking at more of a soft sell off, similar to what they did in 2023, where they were offloading players on expiring contracts. Look, we knew that this season was going to be a transition year. And while I think the team did a really nice job and maybe overperforming a lot of the expectations coming into this season, right now you're kind of seeing some regression, especially from the rotation. And what the Cardinals must figure out is what's more important to them right now, trying to sneak in and maybe hopefully getting that final wild card spot in the second half, or continuing on the path that they declared at the start of the season, which is looking at 2026 and beyond. I'm prepared for this, and I think the Cardinals are as well, to go again up until the final 72 hours before the deadline.
Okay, do you see with their youth, they have the ability to do both at the deadline because they've got a good, decent core of pitching and hitting, and then if you can figure out maybe expiring contracts, how to add to that, so it's for next year also, but maybe something that can help them push down the stretch and maybe sneak in that final wild card spot. I feel like there's a way they can kind of do both here.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think that just depends on if they can turn it around against the Rockies here in Coors Field. And then they have 4 games against the Padres at Busch Stadium. I think those 7 games will dictate if they can kind of straddle the fence. And that's what they've been doing all season long, right? We've heard this all year. Can the Cardinals balance runway and results at the same time? And to their credit, in the first half, they did for the most part. A good example of this, maybe straddling that fence, would be the fact that the Cardinals are continuing to shop Eric Fetty. And this is someone that they're going to look to trade regardless if they buy or sell, because it allows them to trade someone that's going to be on an expiring contract. He'll be a free agent in 2026. It opens the door for Michael McGreevy, who will spot start today against the Rockies. But maybe we'll give him some extended time, some consistent time in the rotation, because he hasn't had that. You can also look to trade away some of your relievers like Steven Matz, Phil Maton, of course, Ryan Helsley, who I'm sure we'll get into. The only problem with that is if you're trying to compete in the second half, those are the 3 relievers that have made the most impact in the late innings. They've been absolutely instrumental in locking down leads in the 7th, 8th, 9th. I know Helsley has not had as dominant of a year as he had last year, but still very much the team's closer, and it doesn't look like the Cardinals really have someone that they trust filling that role if they get rid of Helsley. So they're, again, just kind of what is it? When you're on like a balancing rope, tightrope, is that a thing?
Tightrope.
Yes, that there. Thank you. That's where they are right now as they continue to go into the deadline. And Mo has said all season long he hopes that he has difficult decisions to make. If the Cardinals flame out against the Rockies, I think that decision will be a little easier. I think they'll lean to the soft sell. But to your point, Lance, they can absolutely do both.
Yeah, one name you haven't said yet, Nolan Arenado. I mean, no trade clause. Have you heard anything about certain teams that he might go to or he might not go to if that's the case?
As far as I know, it doesn't seem like there's been any change in the 5 teams that Nolan Arenado would accept a trade to. And we know those teams coming into the season were the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, possibly the Astros, even though he didn't. And I'm missing one. Help me out, guys. What did I already say? Dodgers? Padres. There we go. There's my 5th.
Yes.
It doesn't seem like there's been all California, right? It doesn't seem like there's been any change in that regard. And plus, Nolan will be the first to say his offensive performance has not really led to maybe any kind of increased trade value like he would have hoped. He's playing a gold standard third base again. He looks just like he's 25 years old at the hot corner again. But when his offensive production has declined, the slugging is down, the OPS is down, he's not hitting a ton of homers. So it also goes into that contract, which was a big reason why the Cardinals struggled to trade him over the offseason in the first place. Doesn't sound like there's a lot of traction on the Arenado front. I would imagine we revisit that conversation in the offseason.
Okay, and you started talking about him, so let's keep it rolling. Ryan Helsley, thoughts on if they do end up selling, how much he could command, and what kind of season has it been for him compared to the last couple?
It's been a perplexing season for Helsley because if you look at the amount of times that, his hard hit rate. The fastball velo is exactly the same as last year. It's still one of the best fastballs in the game in terms of a velocity standpoint. He's just getting hit really hard, and it's been kind of a struggle for the Cardinals pitching coach Dusty Blake and Ryan Helsley to figure out what's changed. I mean, that just kind of speaks to the volatility of being a reliever, especially a closer. Now, just because Ryan Helsley is not as dominant as he was last year doesn't mean that his value has completely tanked. We know this. Any contending team is looking for high leverage, high octane relief pitching at the deadline. Could Ryan Helsley still command a return for the Cardinals? Absolutely. But if the Cardinals think that they can still contend and still compete in the second half and again sneak into that wild card, they're not going to move him. Now that brings into question, well, what are they going to do with him in the future? That's not a John Mozeliak decision. That's a Chaim Bloom decision. He'll take over the roster changes, of course, after the end of the 2025 regular season. What the Cardinals have to weigh with Helsley specifically is, are they built to contend in the next 2 months? Can they sneak into the second or the final wild card spot? Is it worth holding on to Helsley to try to kind of reach that fever dream of a postseason? Or should they stick to status quo and focus on the future? If they decide to do that, I imagine they'll move Helsley.
Time for a quickie break. Todd Father and I are going to tell you about Hule, but it's mostly going to be Todd Father because I'm going to take a sip.
Well, we're talking about Hule, 27 vitamins and minerals. It's a complete meal. Let's listen. We all have busy schedules. As Scott's sipping it down, it looks delicious. It tastes delicious. When we're on the run, we need something to eat quick. And guess what? Hule is there, all different flavors. Scotty loves them. I love them. And I love how variety packed it is, and we can eat them any time of the day.
That's right. Yeah, check out the website. There's bars. There are so many different flavors. I love the black edition. Chocolate, 35 grams of protein. There's strawberry shortcake, coffee caramel, cookies and cream. I can go on, and you get yourself 15% off if you're a new customer using the code FOUL at Hule.com/foul. Please see our description for the terms and conditions. Skip the stress, not the nutrition. Try Hule today for complete nutrition with the code FOUL at Hule.com/foul.
Is there anybody that's off limits? I know in the past Walker's been off limits and stuff like that. Are they still in the same boat with those guys?
I think so. And I think what makes it that way is when you look at how this team is currently constructed, is there one trade out there that all of a sudden makes this team a perennial contender? All of a sudden you're thinking, okay, the Cardinals can beat the Dodgers in a 5-game set, can beat the Phillies in a 7-game set. In my opinion, not really. We don't know much about the market right now because there are so many teams like the Cardinals, the bubble teams, if you will, that have not yet decided what their direction is going to be at the deadline. But I just look at this Cardinals team that is in transition, where they are trying to figure out a lot about which guys can they build on their future, which guys are they going to move on from, where it doesn't seem like there's someone they can go out there and add and automatically make them a surefire contender. And I don't think that John Mozeliak and the Cardinals are going to trade away from this future, from this core that they pledged on giving an entire season to figure out. So that's why I caution, whether it's buying or selling, I don't see the Cardinals really going big in either direction. You're maybe looking at an incremental rental if they buy or a soft sell-off if they sell. And again, guys, this series against the Rockies will probably dictate what they do.
Well, hey, if you're going to have a series that decides your season, I would raise my hand for the Rockies, even though they just played better against the Twins and took 2 out of 3. If you ask most players, you poll them, hey, who do you want with your season on the line? I think you'll get a lot of Rockies answers right now. But I'll backtrack for a moment to get granular on what just happened. What went wrong on their first series here after the All-Star break?
Well, you're only as good as your rotation is, as Lance knows. When you have a starting pitching staff that gives up 5-6 runs before the third inning's over, and you have an offense that's not really clicking, that really puts you in a hole. I mean, Andre Palante came out there, allowed 6 runs, 5 earned in the first 3 innings. Sonny Gray gave up 9 runs, 8 earned in his outing on Saturday, and Miles Michaelis gave up 5 runs in 4 innings. And it just felt like the Cardinals were competitively out of it before they even really got a chance to start the game. And this rotation did a really nice job in the first half of, their pitch to contact staff. We talk about the Cardinals every year. Every now and then, balls are going to go through. Guys are, you're not going to hit at a guy every single time. The Cardinals starters did a nice job of weathering the storm and keeping the team in contention in every game. In July, that hasn't been the case. They have been hit really hard, whether you're looking at Miles Michaelis, whether you're looking at Eric Fetty. Sonny Gray's had some nice games, but as of late, it hasn't been as effective. Matthew Liberatore has already surpassed the amount of innings he threw last year. That's why Michael McGreevy is spot starting today to try to give him some sort of extended rest coming out of the break. So it just kind of feels like the perfect snowball of things not going right. That definitely happened in Arizona. It's really hard to play a competitive baseball game when your rotation isn't really giving you a chance from the start, and that's what happened in all 3 games.